what that means?
Yeah, like, I know it has to do with, like, how I hate the way my body looks like. And by, like, not eating, I guess I feel like I have some, like, control over how my body looks like, but then it ends up backfiring because when I binge eat, all of that goes away, you know what I mean? I'm basically, like, reversing all of the work that I've been doing by, like, trying to, you know, not eat so much during the day. And yeah, I just don't really know how it got this bad. So yeah.
So and please correct me if I'm not on the right track, but almost sounds like your body is sort of taking over, and that's when the binging happens. Like when you're so hungry, you can't help but eat.
Yeah, I think it's like, yeah, I'm so hungry, but then it's also like, I think I get so exhausted from like restricting myself the entire day that I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I've restricted this entire day. Like, now I can just like do what I want. Like, I think I'll be fine. So yeah, like the hunger will really, really kick in like late at night. And then it's also this like, this desire to just like, I guess like not restrict myself. I don't really know how to explain it, but that's like the way that I interpret it.
Well, you said something earlier that if you feel comfortable with, I'd like to delve a little bit deeper. I believe you said that you don't like the way that your body looks. Is that what I heard? Okay. So I know, young teenagers really enjoy TikTok, Instagram. I just feel so old when it comes to social media. Do you do social media a lot?
It's actually an issue. Like, my screen time is like through the roof. The two that I do the most are TikTok and Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
Only ones that I really engage in.
Okay, so TikTok and Instagram. What do when you go on Instagram or TikTok, what sort of messages do you think you're getting from that social media feed?
I think there's a lot of different messages. I think there's like messages that like, like people portray that like they're so happy, and like there's kind of like this message that like they're supposed, how do I explain it? Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like there's messages about like what it means to be happy, and if you're not doing these specific things, then you're not necessarily happy, if that makes sense. I think that there's definitely a lot of messages about what it means to be like considered to be like beautiful in this society. Like, everyone is either you're really petite and like you have a really slim figure, or like you have like these amazing curves, and like maybe you're into bodybuilding and now you have a nice butt, and so it's like there's so many like mixed messages. And I know a lot of my frustration stems from that. I'm like, do I want to be really skinny, or do I want to have like voluptuous curves? And it's just like this like back and forth, like not knowing what I want for myself. And I think maybe that's why I'm kind of like wishy-washy with my eating habits, Yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot of messages out there that affect me, and I definitely compare myself to other girls. And honestly, I think for any girl in this society to say that they don't compare themselves like, even if we're not like fully aware of it, I think it is something that we do, and we do take those messages, and we're like, okay, this is what society deems to be pretty, and if I don't fit that mold, then I'm not pretty myself.
Yeah, so there's a lot of internalization of what others deem to be pretty and beautiful. It also sounds like you have a million choices and no choice at all. Yeah.
It's like, no matter what, you can't win kind of type of situation, I guess.
Yeah, Ashley, thank you for telling me that. You said earlier, Instagram, TikTok, you see these happy people. What does being happy mean to you?
Being happy means hanging out with friends, drinking, having a romantic partner, just like being out and about and like living life, like being out in nature. And you tend to like compare that, and you're like, I don't have a romantic partner, I don't have that many friends, I don't go out and party and drink like everyone else. And so then it makes me question, like, if I'm really happy, and I know I'm not. If I'm being completely honest, I don't really like myself. I wish I wasn't in this situation. I wish that I liked my body. And I really wonder if I'm ever going to be able to get to that point. I want to. I really, really do want to. I want to be able to like love myself and love my body, but I feel like I'm so far into this like hole that I've created for myself that I feel like it would take a lot of effort to like get back to how I used to feel.
Yeah, that sounds like it is a very difficult, very hard place to be in. But I want to encourage you coming here today and talking about these really hard topics is exactly what we can do. I'm here to, help you think about things differently, and hopefully we can maybe work on some techniques, or we can come up with some ideas on how to, maybe build some happiness back into your life. So you said that you enjoy spending time with friends, you like being out in nature. Do you ever feel pressure concerning body image when you're with your friends?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I compare myself to them all the time. I don't know anything like that.
Yeah. What does comparing yourself to your friends look like?
Like, a lot of times we'll go shopping, and like sometimes we'll like try on the same clothes, and like seeing that my body doesn't look the same way in the same clothes as like their body does. A lot of the times when we're going to the beach and we're like wearing bikinis, like I'm definitely going to compare myself and say, wow, I wish I had that hourglass figure, or I wish I was that slim and petite. And like, I know this is kind of weird to say, but I feel like where their fat is they're more proportional, like I hate where my fat is distributed. Like it's not in like the ideal places. Like, they'll have like a tiny waist and like a nice big butt, and then I have like these fat arms and these fat legs and a fat stomach, and no matter what I do, I don't think, like I can never get to where they are, and it's just frustrating. I wish I was born in a different body, and I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to feel that way, and I like definitely notice myself acting differently when I'm around them. I feel more like insecure. I'm like very like closed off and like not like my bubbly usual self. Like the entire time in the back of my head, I was constantly thinking about how I don't look like them and how I wish that I looked like them.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a very hard, very maybe painful place to be. Painful feelings. Yeah. Are there any so when you spend time with your friends and you're feeling these feelings of comparison, is that can you tell me a little bit about that? Is there maybe is that feeling of comparison being directed towards you by your friends, or is that maybe coming from inside?
I think that's all coming from inside. I don't think they're necessarily like doing anything. I don't know if I understand your question correctly, but they're not like doing anything for me to compare myself to them. Like I think it's all just me. And yeah, it's definitely embarrassing, to like always go through that and like always like feel the need to compare myself when I'm with them. But yeah, I think it all like comes from like my own insecurities. Yeah.
So there's no how do you see your friends talking about their bodies? Do they talk about their bodies in front of you?
They're never, I mean, like, I feel like it's easy to do this, but they would never, like, flat out be like, I love my body. But the way that they carry themselves does come across that they do. Like, I mean, from like my perspective, it doesn't seem like they compare themselves a lot to like other people. And like, I think that they do have a good relationship with their bodies. They work out every day, they eat clean, they're fit, and they are actually very confident. And then I compare myself and I'm like, wow, I was that confident.
Are there any times that you do feel comfortable with your body?
Not really. I mean, like, I used to be, but like rarely, like every now and then, but moment not really, no. I could not genuinely like think of one time in like the past like maybe like 6, like 8 months that I like felt confident in my body. But like my friends and my family always tell me like you have no reason to not feel confident. And like they actually tell me that they think I'm really underweight and then they want me to put on weight, but like I just don't see it. Like I don't see myself being underweight. The only times where I like realize that okay, maybe I am a little bit underweight is when I see old photos of myself when I was like 40 pounds overweight. Then I'm like, okay, wow, like I look really different. But if I'm not looking at those pictures and it's like a day-to-day basis, my mind, like, I guess, like, kind of like tricks me into thinking that I'm not skinny. Like, I think that, like, I'm big. And, like, when I look in the mirror, I see a big person. But then, like my friends and my family members are so confused because they see someone that's skinny. So, yeah, it's really difficult.
It sounds very difficult, very exhausting. And so there's a difference between how you see yourself and how your family sees yourself. And I, from what you've told me, I understand that you're not confident in your body, but maybe I want to rephrase my earlier question of when you feel most comfortable in your body. Is there any time, and it maybe isn't super recently, because you said that it's been about 6 to 8 months that has been really, really tough, but has there been a time that you could think of that your body has served you really well beyond its appearance? Maybe sports or dance, or you said spending time in nature. Maybe do you do hikes or anything like that?
I used to. I mean, like, my body still serves me a purpose, even though I'm not eating as much as I should. I somehow still have the energy to do some activities, nothing really extreme, but I'm able to hike here and there, like little easy hikes, or like I'll dance a little bit here and there. So yeah, like I don't necessarily like feel confident with how my body looks externally, but like I am happy with like, the fact that I have a healthy body and that, I'm able to move it, and I don't have any like physical ailments or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm content with that. It's just more of like the external looks of it that I'm obviously not that happy with.
Well, thank you for telling me. So it sounds like you do some. What's an easy hike for you?
So I don't know if you've heard of Runyon.
I have not been there, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, so there's like different trails. But I don't go on like the dirt path, I go on the concrete one.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll go with friends. Like, it'll be very, very easy. It's not that uphill. I'll go with my friends, and like it's a really good like bonding time for us. Actually, you know what? That actually brings up a good point. When I think about when I go on hikes with them, I don't feel myself comparing my body to them, which is interesting when I think about it. Like, that's a time where like I'm not really comparing myself, and I guess it's because I'm like focusing on my energy on like getting through the hike, like the conversations that we're having, that I don't really compare myself during those hikes. Yeah.
So you said maybe because you're focused a little bit more on the actual like technicality of, or the what I'm thinking of, the act of walking, the act of breathing, the act of your body is carrying you from place to place. Would you feel comfortable talking a little bit more about why you think there's less of a feeling of comparison when you're specifically hiking?
Yeah, I think it's just like my mind.
Well, do you think we should stop?
Other things, and also knowing that I'm able to move out of the same pace as them, like even though I don't work out as much as they do, like my body's still able to move, as well as their body moves. So I guess like that's a good feeling. yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just more about like being preoccupied and, thinking more about the itself, not really having time to sit there and compare how my body looks like.
Mhm. Are there any other times where your body serves a function that serves you day to day, that it really, your body takes care of you?
Good question. Aside from hiking, aside from walking, dancing here and there, I don't really know. I'm trying to think. I mean, I guess like if we're talking just about the basics, like being able to breathe, being able to, stuff like that. I don't know, like, but I don't know. I really can't really think of anything.
That's okay. I mean, breathing is a big thing for sure. I mean, yeah, your body serves a lot of functions. Well, tell me about maybe your ears or your fingers. Do you do any sort of art, or you said that dance a little earlier, music? Is there anything that that your ears or your fingers sort of help?
That's actually a good point. I love listening to music. I used to play the piano. I just started getting back into that. That's something that's been a really relaxing kind of activity that I do. Really grounds me, so I really enjoy doing that. Music, playing piano, cooking. I like to cook. But I can end up just giving all the food to my family because what I cook isn't that great, health-wise. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I'm going to add one more. So you're cooking, but you're also cooking for your family, and so your body is there to is in sort of a roundabout way helping your family, and yeah, so very good.
I'm going to stop it right there just for the sake of time. I ended the session soon after. So I'm going to get back to the presentation. Okay, so prior to moving into the case conceptualization, we just wanted to highlight this quote that really gets into the control paradox that was mentioned in the Brown, Weber, and Ali article. So it says that the body holds meaning. A woman obsessed with the size of her body, wishing to make her breasts and thighs and hips and belly smaller and less apparent, may be expressing the fact that she feels uncomfortable being female in this culture. A woman obsessed with the size of her appetite, wishing to control her hungers and urges, may be expressing the fact that she has been taught to regard her emotional life, her passions and appetites as dangerous, requiring control and careful monitoring. So moving forward to the case conceptualization, so the personal is political, also the political is personal. So we're trying to assess how has Ashley's presenting problem, how is it related to the broader social and political context, and how have these contexts evidently influenced her life. So it is possible that Ashley has internalized the messages surrounding westernized beauty standards that have been portrayed in media. For her case, it was with TikTok and Instagram. So therefore, her internal reality has become interconnected with the unrealistic body image and beauty standards that many women have been subjugated to. So moving forward to gender roles, evidently from a feminist perspective, it's important to explore how women and also Ashley, how they've internalized social messages about gender. So as a woman, maybe Ashley believes that she's expected to fit a specific beauty standard in order to attract the male gaze. Um, and going back to the Brown, Weber, and Ali article, we could see that it's common for women in the United States to focus on body intake, and we can also see that the control paradox is and so moving forward with Ashley in other sessions, we would want to assess how gender is impacting the problem. So in what ways do gender stereotypes affect Ashley's life? What does she believe is a woman's role in regards to health and beauty? And how has gender affected how she sees herself and her body?
Oh no.
So moving to self in relation, so it's difficult to test whether Ashley has developed a confident self in relation to her family members and her friends, but she mentions that she compares herself to her friends quite often. So we could say that potentially Ashley hasn't developed a strong sense of self within her relationships. Moving forward to marginalization and oppression, obviously from a feminist perspective, these are the root cause of clients presenting problems. So through a feminist lens, Ashley has been raised within the expectations of what it means to be a woman, what it means to be feminine and beautiful. So evidently, with that being said, Ashley has been subjugated to the demands of patriarchal society, which are innately oppressive. But moving forward in our further sessions, we would want to assess whether she has been marginalized, not only due to her sex or her gender, but also race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, so on and so forth. So relational images, Ashley mentions how she believes that her family members and friends are trying to be supportive throughout her struggles with her eating and body weight. An assumption that we could potentially make is that she considers her relationships with her family members and friends to be growth fostering relationships, and that these relationships may potentially aid her towards the path of achieving body positivity and an increased sense of self-esteem. And relational resilience and courage, Ashley demonstrated an ability to ask for help by coming to therapy. This act within itself demonstrates Ashley's courage. Moving forward to mattering and connection, Ashley may feel like she matters to her family members and friends, considering that they are concerned about her body weight. And in regards to disconnection strategies and the central paradox, so it is unclear if Ashley is utilizing any strategies to disconnect from others when she feels vulnerable. But in the role play, she mentions how not whenever, but a lot of the times when she hangs out with her friends, she doesn't feel like herself. She's not her bubbly her usual self. So that could demonstrate a lack in authenticity when she's with her friends.
So with the hypothetical treatment goals through a feminist lens, we would be really concentrating on connection, self-empowerment, and a sense of agency. So we would want to identify Ashley's goals, her expectations, and the pace of therapy, especially, trying to promote an egalitarian relationship. We would obviously be looking at the power analysis of sex, gender, body image, power, and privilege. And finally, we would be working on self-esteem training. So of course, continuing to validate her feelings, but identifying her wants, her strengths, and trying to promote connection, empowerment, and maybe helping her connect with other people who are experiencing a lot of the same thoughts and feelings. So we have a video, I think for the sake of time, I'm not going to show, it's kind of similar to what Dr. Lappin had showed of like, what is feminism, what isn't it? I can put this, in our shared drive. It's an interview with Dr. Carol Gilligan, who, I think doing the reading, that she's pretty integral into feminist family therapy. So finally, we have some discussion questions on body image. So if you feel comfortable and if you have the sort of the emotional space or capacity to answer these, if you wouldn't mind taking out a pen and paper, or even just meditating on these internally. I am going to read the questions out loud, but any of the questions that you feel drawn to, maybe picking anywhere from 1 to 3 to answer and write down your thoughts. So the first one, what messages do you see in the movies, social media, or elsewhere about body image? What are the common messages you take in about body image or the expectations of what constitutes as attractive, beautiful, handsome, relevant, suitable, appropriate? Does body image contribute to your self-esteem? If so, how? When do you feel most comfortable in your body? What contributes to your self-esteem or how you view yourself? Has that changed over your lifetime? Whether body image does or does not heavily impact your self-esteem, what else contributes to your image of yourself? How do you develop an appreciation for your body, unrelated to appearance? How do you build a more well-rounded body image? What do you appreciate about your body, unrelated to its appearance? What functions does your body serve beyond its appearance? How does it serve you? Are there times when you have felt excluded based on your appearance? Are there times you have decided against doing something based on your self-esteem or how you see your body? Now, I understand that these are some difficult questions. We, want to process these with you. So if you want to take a couple minutes, as I said, if there are any questions that you feel drawn to, that you feel comfortable answering, and then in a few minutes, we could maybe take an opportunity to, if you feel comfortable, answering them out loud with the class. But as you answer, I'd like you to also think about what is it like to process these thoughts on body image? How do you see these potentially coming up in issues of self-therapist?
Sarah, we can't hear you.
Thanks. Thanks for anybody noticing that I was even talking. Rachel, would you mind actually pulling your PowerPoint back up? Because I think you and Joby did a beautiful job with the case conceptualization. I just wanted to highlight a couple things about it because I didn't get to it in my own presentation. So if you could just start back at the beginning of the case presentation, I just wanted to point out a quick couple of things, I'm sorry, the case conceptualization. So can you advance to the next slide? So I just really wanted to point out, so from a feminist lens, when you are looking at a case, these are the aspects that you are considering when you are conceptualizing. So you would look at how the personal is political. You would look at the role of gender roles and the influence that gender roles have on the individual. Can you advance? You would look at self in relation to others. Again, this can be informed by, what we know to be the concept of differentiation, but that concept of identity as well. You would look at influences of, I would say influences of marginalization and oppression. So it's beautiful what you did here, because not only are we like able to know what the concept is, but you can see exactly how it applies to this case. Can you advance? So these relational images, again, these are, you could liken this to something like object relations that you've learned about, but considering the relational images that the individual or the family has been exposed to, the relational resilience and courage. So I just wanted to highlight each of these aspects. Those from a feminist lens are what you are considering, what you are looking for as you're conceptualizing the case. And many times those are what informs, with the co-construction of the client, the treatment plan. And so that was all interweaved beautifully. So just want to give big props to the both of you, Joby and Rachel. But I just wanted that to be clear, since I didn't get to it in the PowerPoint. That's it. Thanks for giving me time.
Oh, did you want to?
Nope. So again, mattering and connection, that is something you would consider any areas of disconnection and how to like just have space to explore that, and then potentially removing those barriers. And again, the role that disconnection has in terms of the presenting issue. But yes, that's all.
Okay. Does anyone feel comfortable talking about their process of either our role play or these discussion questions? Jocelyn.
Hi. So for the first question about like how media portrays body image, I don't know if like a lot of you remember a lot of like the shows and movies that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, but a lot of them try to sell us these like fat, ugly characters who now in hindsight were like probably a size 4, were actually very cute people. And it just kind of really made people feel awful about themselves because they did such a good job of like portraying them that way. And I just remember like how awful that was and how so many people around me were affected by it and how I was affected by it. And it's just, I keep thinking about that. I'm like, oh my God, there really wasn't any representation some like 10 years ago or something. And now there is more like portrayal of like, curvier women, and the representation is so awesome. But I mean, it's still kind of a problem today. It's still a big problem today. I forget, the pandemic has made like my perception of time just really weird. I think it was a couple of years ago. Victoria's Secret was like really proud about the first plus size model, and she was like a size 5. They were like, this is our plus size model. Like, we're so proud. Like, look at us showing, and it was like a perfectly just like healthy person. And that was their version of plus size. And I was just thought how that was, working backwards.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. Yeah, that is, I mean, yeah, I can relate. Growing up in the early 2000s was a very formative time, and really, me personally really affected my thought process about body image. Nicole.
If I can hop in really quick, sorry, I'm like super not being collaborative right now. Jocelyn, I want to thank you so much for sharing. I also want to challenge one of the things that you said, because again, I think we really take for granted some of the ways in which we speak and how they've been influenced by society. So when you were talking about the plus size model, you said she was plus sized and she was perfectly healthy, like how those things potentially in our minds are mutually exclusive. Like you are either plus sized and unhealthy, or like normal weight and healthy. So I just pointing out, where even when we're talking about this stuff, the internalization of some of this messaging that we may not even be aware of. So I just wanted to bring that out, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I don't think I think I said it, and now that you mention it, I'm like, oh my God, you're right. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Nicole.
So wait, can you possibly move the chat
Mm-hmm.
so I can see the questions? Oh.
Oops.
Oh, okay, sure. So I have like a few thoughts about this, specifically in the first one. It's actually interesting, like Jocelyn brought up the Victoria's Secret thing, because like, I don't know if this is like a bias or it's just like some like a not kind thought that I have, but anytime I see like an advertisement that includes like various types of like, I remember like Dove soap did this a lot like years ago, and now Victoria's Secret's doing it like with all the different types of body types. Like my first thought isn't like, oh wow, so nice, like they're trying to include everyone. My first thought is like, oh, they're trying to like cover their ass and like include everyone, but like really like this isn't a nice, I don't know why I think like it's not a nice message. It's like they're trying to appear inclusive, but they're really not. I don't know why that's a judgment that I have, but I just think like, I don't know. Yes, exactly. I hate like it really bothers me. And it like still makes me feel bad about myself and the like people in the ad. I don't know. And then the TikTok thing that Joby was talking about, like really triggered something in me. And I feel like this is like a big self of therapist issue I know I have, because like, I don't know, just like growing up with media, like I definitely have like experienced a lot of body image issues, and just like a lot of these questions, I was like, oof, 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 like shots fired. So like with the TikTok thing, like I like honestly can't go on TikTok anymore, because every single video is just like a different, this is what I eat in a day, or like this is like my like I'm into the whole gym, becoming a bodybuilder type of thing, and like it's just a really triggering environment for me. And I feel like I don't even, I just feel like media has really distorted the view that that like a lot of young girls or boys or anyone like has about themselves. And I don't know, I feel like it can be something that's really triggering to anyone of all ages. And I don't like, I didn't grow up on social media as a like little kid, but now as an adult, it's still just like something that's really triggering and sensitive. And I feel for a lot of younger kids that are on these apps. So yeah, and also being in California, it's pretty hard.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Those are, yeah, very important points, I think, especially about sort of like the children kind of growing up in the age of social media, and how, I was gonna say potentially, I feel like it's detriment, like there's no way it can't be detrimental. Harley.
Yeah, I was gonna add, I mean, I think obviously the media is like a huge source of these judgments, but I also feel like when Dr. Lappin was talking about like the health assumptions, there's like, it's so built into our systems. Like when I was younger, I had a lot of body image issues, and like a lot of them started because the doctor told my mom that I was overweight. And I was like, I was like 9. I was like, I'm fine. I'm laughing probably because I'm not over it. But it was, I think it's like the belief that it's wrong to be in a larger body, I think, is so much deeper than like the media portrayals, and that's just sort of a materialization of it. And I think I relate to, I don't remember who was saying that they feel like whenever there's multiple size women in advertisements, that it's like a tool of capitalism. Thank you, Carla. And I think it's because it's such a surface fix. It's like, oh, let's put a couple people that honestly still are traditionally beautiful, but maybe in not like the box, and call it inclusion. And I just feel like even the assumption that a woman needs to be beautiful to be valued is like so flawed. And so anyway, I just think, yeah, and how it's changed over time. I feel like it's like changes like trends so that you can never catch it, so that you want to buy more stuff. Anyway, I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I think it's just like it's everywhere, and it makes it so hard to change. I feel like a lot of things that we try to work on in ourselves, we're like, oh, it's not true that people will think that, but like these are assumptions that are really deep in people, so it's hard to challenge. And just, you basically have to be like, I'm willing to kind of go against those.
Thank you so much for sharing, Harley. I mean, I think you touched on a lot of the like insidiousness of, how painful it can be to be a woman in American society. There was another thing that you brought up that I thought was so great, and now I can't remember. Oh, the beauty that like that therein is like worth. of when you were saying that, it reminded me of like, I like true crime shows, and it's always like she was young and beautiful and her life was cut short, and it's like, well, that's not the only thing that she was. But then also, like, what if she weren't conventionally pretty? Like, she would still have worth, and we should still want to, you know, fight for social justice, or, you know, the thing, you know, goes on and on and on. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Dr.
I
Locke.
digress. I love true crime, but it's super bias of them. My partner and I talk about it all the time. Sorry, I am going rogue. I'll stop with the chats.
Lawrence.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how a lot of how people perceive body image is through like almost like media and advertising. Because like growing up in Africa, the body image was what was considered healthy and attractive, was especially in women, was within like the Black African woman is to be bigger. So it's considered that is what's sexy, and to be like, so if you was skinnier, you weren't attractive. So, and that's just kind of what culturally that was accepted. But as Africa now becomes more, there's a huge influx of like Western media. So that has now influxed into like Southern Africa. And I've noticed that it's starting to change. So the image, what constitutes a perfect body image is especially with women, is they're starting to get like smaller and smaller in sizes. And it just shows you how much like Western media is starting to like influence also like other places in the world of what like a conventional body, what they consider to be beautiful, where before it was like totally different. And how, what I just noticed in how my lifetime, how things are slowly starting to like change.
Yeah, that's really interesting. The dominant narrative in America is becoming more and more the dominant narrative worldwide. I think that's a great example of how far-reaching, you know, many toxic standards can be kind of passed around globally, especially in our social media age. Does anyone else feel like sharing? I think we could also process the case that you were talking about, Dr. Lappin.
That's okay. The process was more important than of going through it.
We also had questions on feminism, our last slide, but I'm looking at the time and
I love how participatory this group is. So thank you all so much. So Rachel and Joby, thank you so much. If the two of you could stay after class for just a few minutes, we'll debrief and I'll give some feedback. Because so for the groups that have already gone, yes, great work. For the groups that have already gone, they already know this, but for those of you who have yet to go, the grading rubric that I have like doesn't really make sense. Like what I'm asked to grade you on, it's not really even being asked of you in the presentation. So I'm just going to be giving verbal feedback and then a grade, like a point grade. But I do have a question for the class. I can't remember if I asked it to the whole class or just asked it to the presenters so far. For those of you who, do you find my like typing throughout the role plays helpful? Do you find it distracting? Like, would you like me to keep doing it or do something different? Okay, you guys like it. You like it. You like me. You find it helpful. Great. Stroking all my codependency needs here. Okay, great. Thank you. I will keep it up. All right. Yes, Rachel, Joby, wonderful work tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating. This, just so you know, this recording is, I'll probably post it, or I will post it to my YouTube page. That's where I just post all my class recordings. So I'll send all of you a link to it, but it was just starting at Rachel and Joby's presentation since Christiana had to take off a little bit early today. All right. Thank you so much. I will see all of you Tuesday and Wednesday.
Bye, Dr.
Ladies, what a wonderful presentation. That was great. So what I like in terms of the information, like, I just think I'm so grateful that you did the case conceptualization, because I was really nervous about the class not getting that information from the lecture, and then all of you going into labs and being like, yeah, we covered like 5 slides. I'm not even sure if I know what feminist therapy is, but that I'm really hoping that the class was able to grasp that, because I think how you applied it was quite frankly more meaningful than me just describing each of those aspects of a case conceptualization. So wonderful work. So I do sometimes, I have been giving feedback on the role play, like aside from what I was typing. Rachel, I thought you really did feminist therapy justice in your role play. So just technique wise, because I can't help but be kind of a supervisor. So you do a wonderful job of like validating and empathizing by saying like, you know, that sounds very difficult for you. I would encourage you, after you do that, pause, let it sit. You can move kind of quickly. So it's like, that sounded like it was, you know, a pretty difficult time for you. Okay. And now da, 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 da. So, you know, so particularly because feminism or feminist therapy is such about connection and like building that space for thought and just this mutual exploration, slow down, feel free to slow down just a little bit. So when you are empathizing with that client, part of the power in doing that is allowing the client like time to sit with it. Because so just thinking about, you know, in Ashley's case, where it sounds as though, you know, she's getting some of these mixed messages. She's not, from what I gathered from her, she wasn't really feeling heard or understood, like wasn't really sure of her value. So my guess is having those kind of emotions seen in her, recognized in her, and acknowledged in her, like that probably in and of itself is very therapeutic. So please don't overlook the value and the power that has of like, I can imagine this thing happening in you, and I just want to let it sit. Because that can be therapeutic in the sense of the client being really uncomfortable with that. And then you have something to process about the discomfort in that. You know, I'm seeing that your body language is kind of changing on me after I identified some emotions. Am I reading you right? What's going on here? So using some of that immediacy. And again, it's all about building that relationship. And how do we like, in my conceptualization, and I would argue in the feminist conceptualization, how do we connect to one another? Through emotions, through that vulnerability, through that shared authenticity. And you're being authentic in the reading that you are doing of Ashley. And then everything else that I gave, because it's a tendency that I've heard from your lab instructors, not for you two personally, just as a group in general, of just going a little bit too quick into problem solving, into reframing. So like when you were talking about, because I thought you guys picked a really relevant and really relatable topic, also like super scary, right? Because there's so many ways that you can like put your foot in your mouth about it. And I think I thought that the two of you did a beautiful job with that. So the comments about like, yeah, I hear you saying like you don't really like the aesthetic of your body. What about its utility? Like maybe a little bit too quick. I also recognize that you guys get like 15 minutes to try to do, but I also really want to encourage you, you know, in future role plays and stuff, you don't have to suggest anything. You don't have to reframe anything. You are just, particularly with postmodern, they are inherently slower. The value is in the process of occupying space with another human. So, because now that I'm saying like, well, that maybe was a little bit too quick, like not, then it's like, well, Sarah, what would you have suggested otherwise? Of exploring more about the learning of this, about the relationship she has with her body. And so maybe it would have come out that she says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I forgot. I'm